Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Barista Files. Today is Thursday, May 11th, 2017. I'm your host Heather, also known as Barista Files on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Boutros Babe on Ravelry. I also have an Instagram account under Highland Handmades. You can find the shop at shop.highlandhandmades.com, the blog at highlandhandmades.com, the podcast at thefiberistfiles.com, and is also available on YouTube and iTunes. Okay. Hey everybody. How have you been? It was a little while since my last podcast again. That is not due to any lack of desire to podcast, but due to a busy schedule. Show season has begun, and I will talk more about that later. I will be recapping for you my time at PLYAway, which was the retreat in Kansas City, Missouri, held by the wonderful folks at Ply Magazine, JC Boggs Faulkner, and her family and employees, and all that is wonderful. Spoiler alert, I had a fabulous time. I have some knitting for you today. I do not have any spinning. All the grabby hand stuff is in the shop right now, so I'm not going to hold up specific stuff. You can listen to me and go look at the site right now if you wanted to and see all the stuff that's in there. It's pretty well loaded right now. I have just a couple things that aren't in there, and I'll talk about that more in Grabby Hands because I hope to get that up soon. So I guess we'll just get started. I will tell you that my phone is going off periodically, so I have it on vibrate, and I don't know if you guys will even pick that up. But okay. Let's start with the time in review, because it's not really a week in review anymore. I went to PLYAway Retreat, which was the last weekend of April. It was like Wednesday through Saturday. I did drive there. My friend Monica, Emmy Stitcher, came with me. She is a fantastic driver, and I'm not. And so she did the majority of the driving both there and back. She is a beast, that woman. I went down to my parents' house on Monday because Monica lives near my parents. So I stayed there Monday night and we left very early on Tuesday morning. It takes about 2 14-hour drive days to get to Kansas City from Maine. That's not all driving. That includes stopping to get gas and eat and, use the rest area restrooms and all of that. It's a long drive. I'm not going to lie. And there's also, when you go out, there's a time change back because they're in Central Time, so we gained an hour. But when you come home, you lose that hour. So it was 2 very long days of driving on both ends. But while we were there, it was wonderful. The Westin Hotel, to this Maine girl, is a bit confusing. I'm very used to things being clearly laid out, and we did get a map, and it's not the PLYAway folks' fault that the map didn't make sense to me, but it didn't make sense to me. And like when you walk into the Westin Hotel, there's no front desk. Like in every hotel I've ever been at, there's a desk in the front where there's a person standing who tells you, hey, that's where you check in or whatever. There were 3 small little kiosks off to the side of this gigantic entryway that had lounge seating and doorways off to shopping centers, and it was like I went to the desk and I was like, I need to check in. Is this where I need to be? Because although it's the Westin Hotel, the letters on the front desk say SPG. I don't even know what that means. I still don't know what that means. I'm assuming it's whatever company owns the Westin. Anyway, that girl was also not very, she wasn't having it. Anyway, so I got the keys to my room. Packed the van, went to the room. We were on the 10th floor at the end of a wing, and the wing is triangular in nature or had a diagonal end, and so our room was very triangular shaped, sort of oddly trapezoidal. It was very weird. It was a big room, which I appreciated, and it was a standard room now that had the microwave and the refrigerator and all that. Didn't have a dresser. There was no... Maybe I'm weird, but when I go to a hotel for a few days, I take all of my clean clothes and put them in the dresser and leave my suitcase empty. And all of my dirty clothes go into the suitcase so that when I come home, A, I'm packed, and B, my dirty clothes are separate from my clean clothes. I don't like putting dirty clothes back in my suitcase when there's clean clothes in there. Maybe I'm weird. Anyway, there was no dresser. How do you have a hotel room that doesn't have a bureau or drawers or something? I ended up putting them in the TV cabinet, which had one, like, cubby hole. It was just weird. It was just weird. Good weird, but weird. So yeah, so we, my setup time was actually Thursday morning, and my load-in time was, for the loading dock, was like 7 to 7:30. But when we got there, Levi, JC's husband, said, actually, there's a dog food conference happening here too, and that the loading dock kind of puts us in their way, so we're just going to use the front door of the hotel. Okay. So we got everything loaded out of the van in no time at all, and setup was done by about noontime, which was pretty good for me. This setup was a little bit different than my traditional setup because I'm low on yarn right now, but that's because I was at a spinning retreat, so I was heavy on fiber. And I had a lot of bats and stuff like that, so I had to rearrange the booth setup a little bit, but it went well. And the market opened at 11 on Thursday and went till 6 o'clock. So the market hours were Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 11 to 6, and then Sunday was actually off, which was incredibly helpful from a vendor standpoint because it meant that I wasn't trying to race out of there on Sunday night and get as far as I could before crashing. We actually left early Sunday morning and had a fabulous time. But anyway, Thursday I did really, really well. Thursday was a good sales day. The market was pretty busy. People were very grateful for us to be there. It was good. Now, there are classes going on concurrently. So there's a 2-hour break at lunch. Classes get out at noon and don't start again until 2. So especially from noon to 2, it was busy. And then from 4, when the classes get out, till 6, it was busy. Maybe it was 5 o'clock. It was 5 o'clock. 2 to 5 was the second set of classes. I didn't take any classes, obviously, because I had a booth. Monica did take a couple afternoon classes. Friday was slow. Friday was very slow. I think the people who come to the retreat shopped on Thursday, and then all weekend it poured. And so I think there weren't a lot of local people there on Friday that had just come for the market. Saturday, we did see several people who said that they were just from Kansas City and wanted to come to the, show or whatever. So Friday was rough. I got some bad news on Friday night, which further exacerbated my stress level, because here's the thing with traveling a long distance for shows. There's a number in your head that you want to hit. There's a number in your head that you have to hit. And there's a number in your head that you need just to break even. After the marketplace on Friday, I was really worried I wasn't going to do that. It's stress inducing. Like, you can't make people buy stuff. So what do you do? Like, I got my spindle out and started spinning. You do what you can. So Friday was a bit rough. Not for any, again, fault of PLYAway. It's just the way it was. In Saturday, again, was busier. And then Saturday, takedown. Now, Monica had never done a takedown before. If you've ever seen the end of a show, you know that takedown is insanity. Everyone throws everything out of their booth as quickly as humanly possible in order to get to the loadout point as quickly as possible. A, so that they're not in the way for other people, and B, so that they can get out of there at a reasonable time. Like, it's chaos. There's no careful placement and arrangement. It's throw it in a bag, put it in the tote, take the tote out, go. We did use the loading docks to leave, and let me tell you, the loading docks at the Westin are terrifying. So there's an upper and a lower, and the lower loading dock looks like a loading dock. The upper loading dock looks like a sidewalk that goes straight uphill. I couldn't, for a moment, I was like, is this a loading dock? I don't know if this is where I need to be. It was where I needed to be, and it was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. It's a huge drop off beside you with this thin little rail that you can't really see. And like 2 people had gone in the wrong way, so I had to maneuver to get clear out of their way so they could get back down the ramp. Meanwhile, I've got 1 foot on the brake, 1 foot on the gas because I'm worried about rolling back. The incline is so steep. It was terrifying. I had to play trust games with Levi, who was the vendor coordinator because he was like directing me to like get into this little teeny tiny space so that the other people could get by. And then, oh my God, it was a challenge. I did it. I was terrified, but I did it. We got all loaded. Monica was like, what is happening? She had to carry grid walls, which is a poor thing. She weighs like, I don't know, 85 pounds, maybe. She's a runner. She's an amazing runner, but she's not a lifter. And so she was pretty sore the next day. And it was, of course, raining, so we were trying to manipulate stuff in the van while it was raining, whatever. But I got everything done. I got a hug from Levi, which, cha-ching, I don't know if you've ever met him, but JC was not kidding years ago at PLYAway when she told me that she had I'm not PLYAway, at SSK when she told me she had a hot boyfriend because, man, I'm just saying. He's also very nice and very competent. But anyway, I digress. So we had everything packed up in the van, parked the van Saturday night, and we said, we're going to have dinner and a drink. The bad news that I'd gotten Friday night, which I'll get into in a little bit, is not business related, but it just kind of put a pall over everything. Like, and I don't mean a P-A-U-L, I mean a P-A-L-L. I was just sort of down. The market wasn't for me what I needed it to be as far as finances. I always have a regular goal and then I have a stretch goal. Didn't hit the regular goal, definitely didn't hit the stretch goal, and although I grossed the amount of money that I put out, so technically I made my money back, I split profits 50-50 between my business and my regular checking account, how I pay bills, and so I only really made half as much as I needed. Again, no fault of PLYAway. It's expensive to travel. The Westin Hotel alone was like $800, plus I had just 2 additional nights in a hotel room on the road. So, I mean, it wasn't cheap, and that's the risk you take. I have done shows where I have done well over what I've expended, and I've done a lot of far distant shows where I've made my money back, and that's fine because that means I get to travel and see my friends and do cool stuff, and that's okay. So it was just a bit of a disappointment. So Saturday night I had a drink. It was a fabulous drink. There's this restaurant called Unforked, which when you look at the menu, looks a little granola and hipstery, but it was fabulous. I had these wonderful carnitas soft tacos. And the margarita they made for being a store in a shopping center. And we're talking like, this looks like an airport shopping center. Like, all those little stores that you see when you're wandering around in the airport because you've got 2 hours before your connecting flight. It's a lot like that. Man, this was a good margarita. Oh, so good. And those carnitas were amazing. In fact, Monica had brought me one for lunch, and I went back and had 3 for dinner because they were so delicious. So that was fun. We did go Thursday night. We went to Jack Stack Steakhouse, I think is what it's called. It's a barbecue joint. It was just up the street. Fabulous barbecue. Oh my God, fabulous barbecue. I was really hoping to have some good barbecue while I was in Kansas City, and I got the recommendation of a local to go to Jack Stack, and although we had to wait like an hour, it was totally worth the wait because it was delicious. Oh, Maine just really doesn't do barbecue like the South. I know, surprise, shocker. If you want lobster or blueberries or something like that, we've got you covered. But barbecue is Mainers don't do heat, like spice heat. We just don't do it. We don't have the climate to grow peppers. And, I mean, occasionally, if it's a really hot summer, you can get some green peppers. That's not a pepper. And we just don't. We tend towards sweet anyway, but there's just no... We had one authentic barbecue joint where the guy had gone around the country and learned how to do barbecue, and that place closed. I only got to go there twice. It was very sad. So, it was nice to have some true authentic barbecue. I get this burger called... like the 3 Pigs or something like that, which had smoked ham, barbecue pulled pork, and bacon with barbecue dipping sauce. It was so good. Oh, I loved it. Anyway. So then we drove home. I drove through the city of Indianapolis on the highway twice. That is a huge step for me because generally I do not drive in big cities. We did have to take I-84 through Hartford in the afternoon, and I understand now why people think people in New England drive crazy. Not so much Maine, but southern New England, Connecticut, Massachusetts. I mean, everybody knows people in Massachusetts drive like they're insane. That's just a fact. I thought it was just Massachusetts. No, because it's Hartford too. People in the Northeast do not believe in personal space. They don't believe in courtesy. They don't believe in signals. Man, Hartford about gave me a heart attack. Like, God bless Monica for driving through it because I couldn't have done it. It was just a problem the whole way through. And it wasn't so much like it was stop traffic, but it was people being jackwagons. Like, I'm going to beat this one car in front of me, so I'm going to cut 3 people off, get in the next lane, and then whip back into the first lane, cutting that person off, and now I'm 1 car ahead. And why are we all stopped? Really? Really? You're not accomplishing anything. Meanwhile, in the Midwest, you're like, oh, hey, there's a car way up ahead. Oh, look, there's a signal. Oh, yeah, I guess he wants this lane. Like, it's just so much easier to drive in the rest of the country. I should say the Midwest, because California is crazy too. But, man, God bless Monica. Everybody loves Monica. I hope you appreciate Monica because she's the only reason I was able to get there and back. So, yeah, I didn't buy much while I was there. In fact, I only bought one thing from the spinning loft who was next to me. I knew I was going to be in trouble the second I saw in the map that spinning loft was next to me, and I didn't fight very hard. So I bought 8 ounces of raw fin fleece, and I hope you can see why I bought it just by looking at it. This fin fleece is very well-defined crimp compared to most of the fin that I've seen. This is so beautiful. I believe Clara Parks bought some as well. Oh, yeah, she was there. She didn't come in my booth, but she was there. And I also bought a little teeny tiny Strotch, how do you say that? Strotch, I think. Little lock flicker? Flick carder? I think it's called a flick carder. It's a mini doffer. It's a doffer brush. It just opens the end of the lock so that you can spin it more easily, so that should I decide to spin this from the lock, I'll have that. And you know, it's just a good tool to have. I use my Ashford drum carder brush to do lock opening now, and it's a little too big for what I need. So I'm happy to have that little brush. So that's all I bought. The doffer was like $7, and the fin, 8 ounces, was $32. So a really good price. $4 an ounce. Beautiful fleece, and I can't wait to get to that. It's going to be a little while, but hopefully August, maybe, I'll get to that. Okay, so that's the week in review and what I've been buying. If you haven't been to thespinningloft.com, you should go. Allison has some gorgeous fleeces. She has a bunch of Icelandic from Iceland sheep fleeces in there that are beautiful. She's got some very unusual stuff, and it's all well priced, especially if you're not reselling it. Like, that's for me. I don't pay $4 an ounce for stuff that I put back into the shop, but for me, that's totally reasonable and doable. So I'm doing it. Maybe tell Allison I sent you, because that would be nice. Sorry, there goes my phone again. I don't know who's texting me. Oh, okay, so that's Shira. So that's going to be, there's going to be like 18 of those. I'll put that on my lap so it's not so loud. Let's move on to the knitting. I did start a new project for the road, and I haven't gotten very far, but because it's tripping my brain out a little bit, but I am enjoying it. This is my very first ever Skew Sock, done in Fiber Nymph Dye Works, an American Legend colorway, I think is that what it's called. Sorry, Lisa. American Legend. I was right. This is on her bounce base, which is 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. So this is a Harley-inspired colorway, Harley Davidson. And since I'm currently dating somebody who owns a Harley, I figured I needed socks for the inaugural ride. I don't know if they'll be done in time for that, but what can I say? So the Skew Socks, when working with striping yarn, this looks like a banana cover to me, a wide banana cover. Because you've got to knot, like when you put the stripes flat, straight, it looks weird. If you put the sock straight, it doesn't look so weird. The stripes are just on the diagonal. so it's knit kind of on the bias. It's just hurting my brain a little bit. I'm trying to trust the pattern. If you follow Kirby Werby Yarns on Instagram and all, you know that she has struggled with this even more than I have. So that makes me feel good. I'm almost to the point where I need to get to the next directions for the heel. So I've not touched that a whole lot lately. I did also start another project. This is a shawl. I ripped out a shawl that I had been designing because I didn't like it and I didn't want to knit on it, so I stopped. I've been going through a bit of a phase of ripping stuff out that I don't like, so that's been fun. This is the Powerline Shawl. It's by Larissa Brown. She wrote that book, Beautiful Wreck, that I adore so much. She's also a very talented designer, and the Powerline Shawl is sort of a wing it, do color changes where you want kind of pattern. And I will try and tell you what yarns I'm using, but I want to show you what I've done so far. This was pretty good car knitting for me, because once you get the, technically it's a four row repeat, but 2 of the rows are exactly the same. So it's sort of a boomerang shape. So you just increase on one side so it slowly gets taller and longer. So this is where I'm at now. So you can see I've used just kind of a hodgepodge of colors. Nothing matches. There's a little bit of everything in here. So let me tell you what I'm using. The first thing I'm using is Spunky Eclectic. This is her Targhee worsted in this beautiful chartreuse neon lime color. If it has a color name, I'm sorry, Spunky, I don't know what it is. I have a little bit left over of my Freedom Calls yarn from the Freedom Calls socks that I knit. That's my yarn. That's my speckled alder base. This is some Spinnaker Farms 9010 alpaca nylon. It's just undyed, very soft. That's just for the lace section. I have a little bit of Volmai's 8020. So that's the twin. This is the Field Mouse colorway, which I used in a My Wish shawl years ago, and I love Volmai's. So I just had to, include it in the shawl that I want to wear and love, but I don't throw away Volmai's. It doesn't go in scrap projects. Like, I keep it for good. This hand spun is Enchanted Knoll Farms. It is the Grackle Bat that I spun up. It's kind of a hot mess colorway. I love it. And then I also have some commercial yarn. This is Noro Silk Garden Sock in sort of a weird, Noro colorways are always weird. There's teal and black and brown and this rust red. It is what it is. But this is the color changing yarn, and she does recommend that you have one color changing yarn, and that's actually what this section is right here, is actually the yarn changing color. It started out really green, and the green and the lime didn't go so well together, but whatever. So the story of this is you can follow specific directions for patterning that are written in pattern, or you can just do what you want. And what I've done is every day that I've worked on it, I've changed what I've done. So I did this first section the first day. The next day I switched colors. The third day I worked on it, I did this 2-color striping sequence. The next day I worked on it, I did a 3-stripe sequence. Then I hit the lace section. Then I had this solid section. So this was a day of just the Freedom Calls colorway. Then little short period, I striped it with the Volmai's. Another set, like you can see that they all sort of, this was quite a bit in the car that I did. And then, so every day that I work on it, I do something a little bit different. That way it's a little bit like a diary. Like I just get to, that like sounded very Valley Girl, I apologize. I get to sort of see, you know, how much time did I work on it on average? You know, was there a day that I did more or less? And I'm really not, I'm just going to use up as much of that yarn as I can until it's humongous, and then I'm going to bind it off. That's a long-term project. The other long-term project that I'm doing is my crocheted granny stripe blanket, which is, I believe, a free pattern on Ravelry. The pattern might not actually be on Ravelry. You may have to go to a website to download it, but it's just double crochet, the whole thing. And I've changed some of my markers, so you're going to have to bear with me while I show you this. I did have markers every 20 rows, but now they're every 50. So here's what I've got so far. Let's drop it down, shall we? So there's the beginning where I was only doing half double. Then I've got all this, all of this, all of this. You can see that some of the colors repeat, but I've tried to not let them repeat too much. So, and here's where I'm at now. This is not super duper wide. I think I have 151 double crochets per row. So it's like 75 or 72 sections. So this is it folded in half. You can see it's really not that wide. Let me tell you where the markers are, and I can tell you how many rows I've done. I was trying to do about a row a day to get it done by my birthday, which is the end of June. And I have done 50, 100, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 109 rows. I should be beyond that because the end of April was, what, 120 days. So I'm a little behind. I think I can get that caught up without too much trouble. I have yarn ready for it. Here's some of the yarns that there goes my crochet hook. Here's some of the yarns that I'm working from. It's just gotten a little bit big to be a carry, like a travelable project. I did not bring it with me to Kansas City, so it didn't get work on it for a week, and that was kind of when I fell behind. I've really not been home much at all, so man, my hair's getting so gray. I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted by the amount of white in the camera screen. I've not been home very much, so it has not gotten a lot of love, but hopefully soon, because I would like to have that done by my birthday. Okay, so growth and processes. Let's talk about negative growth a minute, should we? When Monica was in one of her classes, the teacher said something, and she shared it with me later, and it was both a huge relief and very worrying to me. The teacher, who I'm not going to out, said, anyone who's dying in the industry right now has a second job. The market is just crap right now. There's no, online sales just aren't happening. Shows have been slower for me in the last year than they have been in the past. That has been true for friends as well. In fact, I had a conversation months ago with a friend who's dying who said, are your online sales down? Because my online sales are horrible. And I was like, oh yeah, it's not just you. Like, it's across the board. Even Spunky Eclectic has a second job right now. And she has kids who are homeschooled and a farm to run. And she has a second job. I have thus far just been doing Highland Handmades. I did have a subbing gig at the very beginning of the year in January. I did a 6-week sub gig at the local elementary school. That was mostly because it was dead. And no, I suppose it was more December than January. That's a slow time in the business anyway, so I just had the time, so I did it for a little extra cash and for Christmas money and stuff like that. Things are bad right now, financially, for me. I'm not going to lie. That's the reality of being in this business, and I'm not telling you that to engender pity. Just, this podcast is a record of my journey as a dyer, and sometimes that journey is pretty rough in places, and this is one of those rough times. May, this month, is the first month that I am not going to be able to pay my bills. That's just the truth of the matter. My subbing is not going to happen because turns out my fingerprinting approval, which in the state of Maine you have to be fingerprinted to do a criminal history records check, that expired because I've not been teaching for so long, and I didn't realize that it was expired. So now I can no longer sub, and it will be 6 weeks before I can get that renewed, which will put me past the end of the school year. So my options at this point are pretty grim. I was really hoping that my divorce settlement was going to come through this week, and that would bridge the gap between now and the summer shows. So I have a show and a cruise in June. I have a cruise and a retreat in July. I have another retreat in September. The summer picks up a little bit for knitting, especially with wholesale orders on the coast, because the tourists tend to order more. I'm now not going to be able to bridge that gap. And I quite frankly don't know what I'm going to do. I have put everything that I have had with me in the shop, except for a couple of bats and some spindles. I've advertised it, I've mentioned it, I get some sales, and I've got the club, but even the club had 75 people last year, and it's got 20 people this year. Like, I can't count on that money. And I do usually plan for this, but unfortunately this year in general has been slow, and I've not been able to work as much simply due to the nature of life happening, and so I'm struggling. As soon as I get done here, I have a wholesale order that I'm going to be dyeing for. I am also the dyer behind Little Skate and the Big Wool's new house yarn line, which is I'm having a blast with. In fact, I dyed some of their yarn just yesterday, and that's helping. But the reality of the situation is, guys, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, do I need to get a second job? Do I need to go back to freaking Rite Aid? Like, I don't know what to do. And I don't know if this is a momentary hiccup. Is this the political climate making people not want to spend money on luxury items like yarn? Or is this a change in the industry? Has our 2008 bubble burst? I don't know. I don't know if this means I should look for a job in my former teaching career again. I don't want to go back to teaching. I mean, my bills are small, so I could probably get away with just ed teching, but I don't like. It just feels like I worked so hard to get here, and I did it. I successfully made what I love be what I do. I did it. That was the American dream, right? I quit my day job, and now I do what I love, and I don't work a day in my life. That's a total lie, by the way. You totally bust your butt every day. Even if you love it, it's still skating and web design and everything else. Like, I definitely work, but I'm out. I don't know what to do. And again, this is not to engender sympathy, just to say this is the reality of what I'm facing. So I try always to be honest with you guys, and that's what's happening. Nobody's buying yarn anymore, and it's not just me. It's the industry. Things are slow right now. So I guess we'll see what happens. I don't have any shows this month, so I have some time. Like, I need to figure out. May is a good time to be looking for jobs in education. I may need to polish up my resume. The house is on indefinite hiatus until I get that retirement money, my divorce settlement. It will be the end of June now before that comes, so after my birthday. I don't even know if I can build a house that late in the year. You would think, well, you got all this time. It's only June. But no, because the bank could sit on the check for 30 days. I then have to get the financing, which takes a while. I have to get a contractor, which takes a while. And then, well, septic, electricity, the concrete pad, all have to be done before you can even start building a house. Can't get estimates on any of that because I can't get the plans made, because the plans cost several $100s to get made up, and I don't have that money. Like, it's just one thing after another all the time. And I just so desperately want to be out of Brownville and out of this house and living my best life. I want my studio. I want all these things. But now I'm thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't do the studio. Maybe that's counting on something that's not going to happen. I don't know. But I think maybe this is just a blip. There's no way to tell. It's very frustrating. So that's it. That's what life is like right now. I'm just going to keep going and hope things get better. Processes, I don't have a process for you this week. There's not much for me to show you that I haven't showed you before, and I don't get questions from you guys anymore about things you want to know or see or whatever. So I guess if you want me to keep that a section, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to just let it go, I think. Grabby hands, I already showed you what I bought from the Spinning Loft. Definitely check them out if you get a chance. I did see on the internet the other day that Fiber Nymph has a new striping club happening. It's a 3-month self-striping sock yarn club. And I think, as I just showed you with my Harley socks, Lisa does amazing stuff. She has amazing stripes. So definitely get in on that if you can. I've bought one of her pie colorways, which is a striping yarn that the stripes are the same numbers. The number of yards in each stripe coincide with the numbers in the number pi. So 3.14, 159, all that other stuff. And I so desperately want to cast those socks on for myself, but I need to finish some other stuff first. I'm pretty desperate about that. I'm a Chagoo representative, and I don't have much Chagoo stuff on the shop right now, but I am trying to get that in the shop. So if you are looking for a Chagoo interchangeable set of needles, or you want a specific product, let me know, and I can pop that in the shop for you. Those do ship to me from the company after you order them. I don't have the space here to carry their inventory. So when you order from me, I order it from the company, and then I ship it to you. So it does take 2 to 3 weeks for that to come out. But if you're not in a super hurry, Chagoo needles are amazing. I only use Chagoo now, ever. And in fact, if I'm starting a project and I don't have the right size Chagoos because they're in another project, I cap the the cable in the other project, take those needles off and use them in the new project because I love them so much. I have not used their crochet accessories, but I hope to. I just got the Susan Bates crap ones that I got at Walmart, and if I'm going to be doing more crochet, I would like to get a better set of crochet needle hooks. So I also will have some more Tix trinkets in the shop soon. I have some beaded ones in there, but Katie's mom did some beautiful metallic ones that have sayings on them and some really sweet charms, and they're really adorable. So I'm going to photograph those and put those up in the shop too. Those will also be at Fiber Frolic. I have not gotten the map for vendors at Fiber Frolic. I will tell you, this year's Fiber Frolic, I will be in one of the main buildings. Not the barn, not outside all by myself on the lawn, but I will be in the main building. They cashed my check, so I guess that's where I'm going to be. That will be a first for me. I prefer to be out on the lawn in my own space. However, I kind of am in no man's land over there, and I think it's negatively impacting my sales. And the reality of the situation is that I need sales. So, because I was in Kansas City, totally missed the deadline for applying to SPA for 2018, so I will not be at SPA in 2018. Super mad at myself about that because I love SPA. But that's the situation. Who knows? Maybe if I'm incredibly lucky, I'll be vacationing in Guam that weekend. It's possible. It's a small possibility, but it's a possibility. And I'm hanging on to that possibility like you cannot believe. That's all I guess I have for this week. If you get a chance, please check out the shop. It's at shop.highlandhandmades.com. You can get that from the website. HighlandHandmades.com. You can get there from the blog, thefibristafiles.com. I think you can get there from Facebook. If you go up onto the Highland Handmades Facebook page and click shop, I believe it will take you there. Let me know if that's not true, but I believe it is. Yeah, I got all kinds of stuff, so check it out. Until next time, guys, I will say for now, happy spinning and knitting, and thanks for tuning in.